Welcome back to another episode of ZQUAKE. My name is Julian Sonnenberg, and today we are joined by another very special guest, the owner of LIFTID, ladies and gentlemen, Caleb Troutt.
Woo-hoo.
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, bro?
How you been?
I've been good. I'm excited. This is a first for me.
Yeah. So tell me, man, what's going on? How's LIFTID doing?
You could say good if you're just talking about like compared to how other people that have started their business. So I sold my first t-shirt ever July 29th. So what does that make us? About 15 months in. So compared to most people that are 15 months into a business, I'm doing good. But it's still always hard.
Absolutely.
And like still doesn't feel good. Like if you were just going to ask me on the street, like, how's the business doing? I'd be like, I was struggling, but, you know.
I feel like when you say you're struggling, you're going to continue to struggle. But if every time someone asks you, like, we're doing great, man, like you're kind of speaking it into existence, and that's going to happen. You're kind of manifesting it. Whatever you're putting out is going to come back to you. That's the way I feel, at least. Whenever someone asks me, like, how the podcast is going, even though I haven't uploaded for the past 2 months, I'll be like, it's great, man. Like, our past episodes have been getting great numbers, you know? But if I was like, it's awful, like, I haven't uploaded, I'm not getting guests, then that's what's going to continue to happen. At least that's how I feel.
I agree. Yeah, I'm a big manifestation guy, but I think it's just hard. It's just the hardest thing I've ever done. So,
absolutely. Running a business is something that you have no idea what it's like until you actually do it.
Yeah.
People really don't understand how much comes along with running a business.
Yeah. And if I think if I had known, I think this has always been my passion. This has always been my path. I've always known that. But you knew going in, you heard me on the phone right before we got in here. Like, I knew going in that this was going to be hard. And you even know going in, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. But it's just hard to put into words until you're doing it. The amount of pressure that I feel from all angles, always.
Yeah.
It's like no matter how good the business is doing, you're always feeling like the best way I've been able to describe it is it's like a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
It's like I'll go to bed tonight and it literally doesn't matter how good we've done. I wake up tomorrow with the same sinking feeling in my stomach that I had this morning. There's nothing that I could do today that's going to make it to where tomorrow, that's not my initial reaction. It's not that you can't live without that reaction. You just have to, like, when you're doing this type of thing, you have to make it a conscious effort to push that feeling away.
Yeah, it's always an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when your business is based off of like the public eye and, you know, you're promoting your business on social media using your face. It's kind of like you have that pressure. And I feel it a little bit with the podcast. I'm sure not nearly the extent that you feel it, but when you're out there and you're putting your face on your business, you feel that pressure of like you have to do better because you almost, because of what people think of you. At least for me, like I try my best not to care about what people think of me, but at the end of the day, it's really hard not to. And it always comes to my mind when I think about how good or bad my podcast is doing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it, like, you feel the same way. Like you don't want to be working out in the gym and like someone comes up to you and knows you and you're just embarrassed that like your brand is doing awful. So you feel that pressure, you know?
Yeah, you know, I would say that's funny that you say that because that's not at all.
That's so awesome, man. That's good to hear.
The reason is I think it's you go through kind of like phases. And I'm at a point where obviously I want the brand image to look good. But I mean, I could care less what people think when they think of me personally, whether or not I'm a success. It's hard because everyone says this, but I'm really not doing it for anybody else. I'm really doing it for me because everyone else too. That's kind of goes back to my first point. From the public eye, we're crushing it.
Yeah.
Like no other business that I've ever seen in clothing is like specifically fitness clothing. It's like how saturated of a market is that? Yeah. How many times have you met people, friends, that have said, I'm going to go start a clothing line. And they work out and they want to start like a workout clothing line, like Young LA or Gymshark or these other brands. They see these stories. I love that. I've never really met anybody that's done what we've done in 15 months.
So that's awesome.
The pressure is financial. Like, and that's, I think, why you don't feel that yet.
Yeah.
Maybe that difference.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of my background. So this is the second business that I've ever started. If you consider this a business, which I do, I ran an e-commerce business for about between 2 and 3 years, and that's how I'm able to afford to do this.
That's how you.
Right. I'm open about this. My investment cost, all the equipment, microphone, camera. I obviously a ton of research goes into it. You want to make sure that you're buying the right products. You have to know what to buy. But it was around a $1,500 investment cost, and I'm probably around like $2,000 right now. And that's all my personal money, nothing of my parents. Obviously, we're in my dad's conference room right now, and I'm extremely grateful that I have the opportunity to use this. But I'm not on a financial strain right now. I haven't made a penny from this podcast, and I'm perfectly fine with that because of how much I love doing it and how much I enjoy doing it. I'm looking at the bigger future. So, like, what is that like to you when you're always thinking about the financial aspect of your company?
Yeah, well, that's cool that you've spent money to do this. By the way.
Yeah,
like, super proud of that.
Yeah,
you're 17.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Don't call me sir. There's not many other 17-year-olds out there that would be willing to work for $2,000.
Yeah,
and then to think about taking that money and investing it into something that then will require more work.
Yeah,
right. Most people spend their money on things that are just going to give them pleasure, like a car or a video game or, whatever it is, like food, things that you're not going to like make money back, and you're not going to have to work for it once you spend it. So that's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I do make purchases like that. For example, I just bought a couple tickets to a couple of Heat games this season. I love going to concerts, sporting events, and I'm a big Heat fan, so I like going to those games. So I bought my tickets early.
You know what's cool? You remember the Miami? There was all those signed jerseys at the gym. That was like at LA Fitness.
Yeah.
I won one. A Tyreek Hill
signed
jersey.
How much did you pay for that?
I haven't yet. The guy's wait. I'm gonna go pick it up after this.
But
$325
for a signed Tyreek Hill jersey.
And I feel like that's a good investment because I think Tyreek Hill will be a Hall of Famer.
So if he's a Hall of Famer, then I guess it should go up in value, right?
Yeah. No, I have the picture on my phone. He sent me the picture of it.
Until then, it's a cool thing to just like hang up on your wall or something.
I don't know. I was probably gonna wear it. I know people say that's
crazy.
I'm that type of guy. I buy Jordans and I just like wear them to leg day.
So me too. Like I have a ton of shoes. I'm a big Jordan guy, and I don't mind like beating them. And I never put a crease protector in my shoe. Like people do all sorts of crazy stuff like that. But I feel like that's crazy.
I don't know. I think it's a big flex.
Dude, that's a massive flex. It's a huge flex.
It's only $325. You look at how much a jersey costs. It's like $160. It's like only doubles the price.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not actually that crazy.
And you got that from the Signature Club here?
Yeah, he texted me today and he was like, "Hey Caleb, the guy that won is no longer interested. So you're now the highest bidder. Do you want it?" And I was like,
do you know how much that guy bid?
It's probably $350 because it's increments of 25. So
that's sick.
And if he bid more, he's stupid. But yeah, man. Back to my business. So I started it. The way that I started this business was I put $4,000 that I had available on a credit card. So I didn't have money. And I was 25 when I started the business. So you'll kind of see, like, as life goes on, there's two ways of living. You either live paycheck to paycheck or you save up. And like when you have bills and things like that, like most people live paycheck to paycheck. What that means is like you don't have any money left over, but you make enough every 2 weeks to where when that paycheck comes in, you can pay your bills and then you're good. That was basically where I was at.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in debt. I didn't have like money laying around.
What was your previous job?
I was a personal trainer. Kind of. I was working. So when I first started, I was a manager of a crunch. And I was either going to like get promoted and kind of go down this path of staying with crunch and working my way basically up this corporate ladder to eventually maybe be like a regional one day. It was kind of my goal. And then I kind of had this thought that I wanted to start a business. And so when I was starting the business, I knew I couldn't work at Crunch as well. So I either had to stay at Crunch and follow that or quit and get a job doing something else as I started the business. So I quit. Excuse me.
You're good.
And I quit the job at Crunch. I got a job as a trainer. And my schedule was 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., like 5 days a week. And then I was free the rest of the time. So I put $4,000 on a credit card, quit my job, get that job. And at that job too, I was making like $2,000 a week. Like,
that's good.
I was making good money. It's like over $100,000 a year.
Yeah, that's very good.
And just working that schedule, the $4,000 got me 200 t-shirts. I took those 200 t-shirts. It was 100 t-shirts that were white with a black LIFTID logo, and then 100 that were like blue with a yellow logo. And they had these little simple designs on the back. One had a bear and one had a deer. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a graphic design guy. Like I just was like, I need to start this business. That was just what I thought of.
Did the name come to you first or the idea?
No, I've always wanted to do this.
And then how did you come up with that name?
I just came like 5 minutes. I just was sitting around, and I remember I was like in my bed. I was still working at Crunch. I was going to have to go to work the next day, and I was like on my laptop, and I was on Custom Ink. Mm-hmm. Anybody, like you could go to Custom Ink right now and do the exact same thing. And I was like, I just got to come up with a name. Something that has to do with working out, and it's clean. And I was like, Lift, because I was thinking gym, right? Well, Gymshark is taken. Alphalete, athlete, and like Fabletics, athlete. So I was like, okay, so they're playing on words, right? A lot of these businesses. And the ones that there's some businesses that I think they do too much with the name. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, I'm not going to name any of them, but they just try to do too much. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it needs to just be like simple, like Nike. Yeah. Clean. I was like, lifter, lifting, lifted. And I was like, oh, lifted. I was like, oh, I kind of could hear people saying that. Yeah. Like, oh, you see the new LIFTID drop? Like, yo, this is a new.
Yeah. It rolls off the tongue.
It does, yeah. So I had it lifted with an E, and it was taken. So I just dropped the E and I put an I. So that was it.
Yeah, that works. So what does that actually mean, though?
It means nothing.
What is the meaning behind it?
Yeah, nothing. Nothing. No. And I say that because I want people to understand how little you have to start. You don't even have to have a name that has this deep meaning to it. Mm-hmm. You just have to have a name. Mm-hmm. You could come up with anything right now. It doesn't have to mean anything.
So would you say that the meaning is more behind the company and who owns the company rather than the name of the company?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you could say, yes, who owns it, but really what the mission and the brand, what I want that message to mean is I want it to be this story of, me and no money and no degree and no help from investors and no course on how to run a business, right? You just start from nothing.
Absolutely.
And you're able to just go. And even the fact that I didn't know how to come up with a cool name, I just came up with a name that is now cool. I mean, it is cool.
I like it.
A lot of people tell me that. But what's funny is it does mean something now, because I think what my brand really stands for is about being positive and showing people what's possible. And I always say inspiring and uplifting people. And so you could look at LIFTID and think of it in this like uplifting, positive. It has that vibe to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So it's cool how that's kind of worked out. And I think eventually, that will work, when it is big. And but I think it is also cool. And I'm not going to act like it means something, when in reality, it was me sitting in my bed in 5 minutes thinking, I just got to come up with something. Yeah. So I put the 4,000 on the card. I ordered these 200 t-shirts, and the shirts come in July 29th. And that day, I get these boxes in, and I'd already bought this plastic table from Walmart and these, plastic bins from Walmart, and I'd labeled them small through XL. And so I get these shirts in. I start folding them, about 2 hours of folding the shirts, organize them, take those bins to my local gym, set up a table, and just start selling. And that was day one, July 29th, go out, sell my first t-shirt. And I would, work the 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift. And then I would find a gym that I could set up at, and I would set up from 5 to 9 or 10 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday. And I did that for 3 months. And at the end of those 3 months, I looked back and I kind of looked at the numbers, and I'd sold $30,000 worth of t-shirts.
Wow.
So, right, the first 200 had gone. I got some more, found a different manufacturer, made some cool designs, kind of learned.
Who's designing all? You design everything?
Yes. Now, for the longest time, it was just my guy that does screen printing. He would just help me. He does the screen printing. He's always been more of like an art guy. He's got that ability. And so I would just kind of tell him like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And he would just come up with a design and I'd give him the green light.
Yeah.
So, that right there, like, you don't even have to know how to make designs. Like, you could just find somebody that does and then, like, ask them for help.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that was how those first 3 months went. And then I quit my job, and then the rest is...
So, right now, this is your only source of income?
Yeah, I quit my job November 1st. So, almost a year.
Yeah,
Today's October
coming
5th.
up, yeah.
Yeah, so November 1st, it will be 1 year that I've been full-time.
Oh, man. I mean, congratulations. If you've been able to maintain a year solely living off of income from your own company, that's unheard of. I bet it's heard of, but the success rate is so low, and most of the people are never able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's what everyone was telling me, too. That success rate is very low.
Yeah.
And it's very possible
But
that I will
at least for me, that gives me motivation to become successful, because I want to prove everyone wrong who doubted me.
Yeah.
You feel the same way?
Who doubted you?
Dude, even the first time I posted an episode, there was like random people in my YouTube comments saying like, who is this guy? Like laughing emojis, stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, perfect. Now I'm just going to do even better than I was going to do before, because you're motivating me right now. Do you ever get those like hater moments?
Yeah, I guess a few. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I think people focus on like haters way more than in reality the haters exist.
Yeah.
I have always focused on the people that support me and the people that do believe in me. And I've always had people that did, because I've always worked so hard that even if I didn't have like a massive amount of success yet, people could see how hard I was working there. They were like, okay, like if there's anyone that I think is going to make this happen, like it's this guy.
Yeah.
And it's not like I say it, so try to say it humbly. It's just because I was never half in. I never kind of did it. Mm-hmm. I never had like a week that I was like not extremely dialed in. From July 29th until now, every single day I have worked on the business.
And that shows. Think about if you wouldn't have, where you would be at. Probably nowhere where you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So the haters like type of thing, I think it's good. I think if it's all you have, like Alex Hormozy, I'm sure you listen to a lot of these guys. You seem like that guy.
I'm a big Rogan guy. I'm not sure. Are you talking about podcasts? Is that a podcast?
I think, yeah, he has one.
I don't know.
But he's like
a
author, just kind of in the personal development space.
I'll go check him out after. Sounds interesting.
He talks a lot about like use what you have, and so if all you have is people that hate you, and you literally don't have anybody that believes in you, then sure, like use that as fuel and be like, I'm gonna go prove you wrong. But in my experience, it's always been easier for me to find people that do support, and every now and then I'll get people that kind of hate, but.
I bet it's never someone in person, though.
No.
Always online. It's crazy. None of these guys would ever say something in person.
Yeah.
They're all typing on their phones, on Twitter, YouTube. If they ever saw us in person, guarantee you, they'd be like, yo, I'm a fan of your podcast. I'm a fan of your brand. I just bought a shirt. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Why do you think that they don't believe in you?
They're jealous.
Okay. Why do you think that they're jealous?
Because they are not successful themselves.
Okay. Right? And so that's why people would not believe in me. That's why they wouldn't believe in you. It's because they don't think it's possible.
Exactly.
So, right, you shouldn't look at these people as people that are the enemy of you. You should look at them as people that one day you will inspire. So one day,
I love that.
10 years from now, these people that you say hate and don't believe in you, you'll be able to say, I know why you didn't believe in me. Mm-hmm. And it was because you didn't believe it's possible. But now you have the proof. I've done it. And I don't hate you. I want you to look at what I've done as proof that you can go do it too. and hopefully be inspired by the story. There's very few enemies in this world. Most people hate or they throw anger and, stuff out because they're mad about something internally. Mm-hmm. Very few times are there actual people that hate you. And so whenever I have an interaction where maybe somebody kind of scoffs at what I'm doing, or they, I'll get this a lot where people will say things like, oh yeah, everyone's starting a clothing line.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, man, yeah, they are. And when they walk away, I just go like, man, that guy probably works a 9 to 5 that he hates. And he probably doesn't believe that it's actually possible to go make billions of dollars and create a business.
Is that your goal? You
Yes.
want to make billions of dollars?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So what makes you stand out from the other popular gym brands like Gymshark and Young LA? Why are you going to be more successful than that?
Nothing is different about me. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm always very clear about that. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about you. What makes us special are the decisions that we make. And so anybody could make these decisions. You could today decide you want to own a clothing line and do the same decisions that I've made over the past 15 months, and you'd be in the same spot. So the reason that we're going to be successful is because I have the mentality that I will never give up. I'll always show up on the days that I don't want to show up. This has become my slogan, discipline over motivation. I'm always going to work towards it, and I'm never going to give up. And so I'm going to hire people and train them that same way, and we're going to build this team, and we're going to have ambassadors, all these people thinking the same way, and that momentum is going to carry us towards eventually we're going to be one of these big brands. Mm-hmm. The people always ask, like, what's different about the clothes? Well, like, the clothes are soft, but to be honest, anybody could go make soft clothes.
Yeah.
And like the designs are cool, but anybody could go make cool designs. But what's hard is staying at it every single day, right? I'll be honest, like
consistency.
Yeah, like I went out this morning and set up that table because I knew that I was going to be here tonight and I wasn't going to be able to set up.
We hear this over and over from like motivational speakers. Everyone talks about consistency. And I've noticed how important it is. How important do you think consistency is for building a brand?
It's 100%. Like you just need it.
Yeah.
It's like water. You would die without it. Yeah, your business would die without it.
Yeah, and you mentioned your kind of slogan, discipline over motivation. I wanted to ask you about that. What does that mean? And why do you say that?
Yeah, it means, is there work that needs to be done? And if the answer to that question is yes, and it almost always is, then you do the work. Mm-hmm. And nothing else matters. Not how you feel on that day, not if it's fair, not if you deserve a break and you've been going for a long time. All of the emotions and, how you feel about doing the work is out the window. If there's work that needs to be done, you do it.
Yeah.
And that's me. I needed to set up this table today. But, I have set up over the past 3 days. And we are in a pretty good spot with the money already. And we're kind of low on inventory, so I might not sell as much if I do go set up anyways. And I've got this podcast with Julian later. And so, if there's a day that I could skip, it probably would be today. And then I go, but I need to set up that table today.
Yeah.
So I got up early, I went, and I set up the table early so that I could do this podcast as well.
That's awesome.
I also got my workout in. I also did my emails. I also did my Instagram work. I did everything. Mm-hmm. And I also am doing this.
Do you run all of your social medias?
Yes, with the help of my employee, who is also my girlfriend.
Awesome.
Yes.
So you do everything from the pictures of the merchandise to the social media clips. You and your girlfriend.
My girlfriend runs a lot of when it comes to responding to comments and responding to DMs, but all of the content is 100% me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a Sony camera that she got me for my birthday. I used to have a Canon.
W girlfriend, as they say nowadays.
Yeah, I guess that is what they say. But yeah, I just learned how to take photos, and then I learned how to edit. And I've never really been a social media guy, but my lifted page is way bigger than my personal page.
Yeah, you got over 7,000 followers. I was just looking on Instagram.
Yeah,
that is so hard to do. To get 7,000 followers, on a business Instagram page. I don't think people understand how hard that is to. Like, you look at other people who have millions of followers, and you're like, oh, 7,000.
Yeah.
People don't understand that is hard to do. That is not easy. 7,000 is a lot of people.
How do you think I did that?
Hard work.
How, though, specifically? Would you have guessed?
Good marketing.
Okay.
Setting up your tables. Setting up the tables.
I got 7,000 followers because I went out over the past 15 months and met 7,000 people and told them to go to Instagram and follow my page.
And how much do you think that's affected your business?
Oh, 1,000%. Because think about this. That Instagram page had 0 followers that day that I went and started the business. So I go out with my table and I get one person that I meet. I say, hey, I'm starting a business. These are my 2 t-shirts. If you could go follow my Instagram page, that would help me a ton. And I tell them my story of why I'm starting the business. And that Instagram goes from 0 to 1. And then I go do that 7,000 more times. And over the course of the 15 months, that story gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the story is no longer just, I've always wanted to start a business and now I'm starting, but it's, I started this business 3 months ago and today I just quit my job to go full time. And then it's, I started this business 7 months ago and today I just hired my first employee. And it's, I started this business, 15 months ago and today I'm doing my first podcast.
Yeah.
And so the story has been told in person to every person that's followed the Instagram, with the exception of a few hundred at this point, because now it's gotten some momentum.
Right, like people, I wanted to ask you about this. You have like a ambassador, like athlete program.
Yes.
What is that? How does one become a lifted athlete or ambassador?
Well, before I get to that, continuing on this growth of the Instagram,
Go ahead. Yeah.
The reason that that's so important is because now I have 7,000 people that follow that Instagram that met me or my employees. They have heard the story and they followed the Instagram not because it was cool and it was trendy and it was something that, was hot at the moment, but they followed it because they believed in our message and what we were doing. And so now the engagement on the Instagram is so high.
Yeah.
Because the people that see the posts, and as long as I stay true to myself, they're like, go Caleb, go Sophia, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are living what you told me that day 6 months ago you were going to go do. You're doing it. And they're real supporters. They're not just bots on Instagram.
Yeah, because you've met them in person.
You hit an algorithm and now you have a bunch of people in India following your Instagram account. That means nothing when it comes to business. So I try to teach, especially this younger generation of people that are so focused on followers. I try to teach them business is still done in person. And you use the internet as a tool, right? So how cool is it that instead of walking around with a pen and paper and getting people's emails to add them to my email list, I can now just have them pull up Instagram and follow the page.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing business in person. It's just made it easier to where I don't have a Rolodex anymore. I have a Instagram full of followers that can see pictures and videos and Instagram lives. And I try to combine this old school mentality of business, of running around and doing the grassroots organic marketing, with the new school of using these tools, but not being, I hear so many people that they're so dependent on this algorithm.
Everyone always talks about, the TikTok algorithm, the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
So you don't think any of that is important?
I'm sure it is, but I put no emphasis on it. If I catch it one day and blow up, great. But I look at that with as much luck as I would look at the lottery. I'm not going to sit around and hope I'm going to make $1 million one day. If I do, great. Like I like to get little scratch-offs and go to the Hard Rock every now and then. But I'm not going to make that my living.
Yeah.
How foolish would that be? And in the same way, if you're trying to grow online, meet people, build a real following of in-person people. You can do that. I can guarantee you today, if you walk outside for two hours, you can go meet 10 people and get 10 followers. I can't guarantee you that your Instagram post is going to hit the algorithm. So do what's guaranteed, and then also just hope, basically, that the algorithm catches you at some point, and use that kind of as like nitrous.
Was it ever hard for you to have that confidence to set up your table and sell your brand to people right there? Did you ever have like a confidence issue with that, or was it always easy for you to sell yourself and your brand?
You mean like being not as social? Like, was that being like
not
hard?
not as social, but sometimes people have confidence issues in like selling themselves. Like they don't want to, they want to try to stay humble, and they don't want to sell themselves or their brand as well or as much as they should be. So let's say like I set up a table. I'm setting up my table, and someone walks up and I'm like, yeah, like I have this brand, like I just quit my job. Or you could be like, yeah, man, like I have this brand, it's so awesome. Like I'm sure you would love it if you bought a shirt, it'd be like a great shirt. I put so much into this. And maybe that's maybe it also has to do with just like good salesmanship, but I feel like it also has as a confidence thing, especially when it's your own company.
Yes. Okay. You're bringing up something that I don't think you're meaning to. I'm a good salesman. Like I've always been in sales. I went to college briefly, but I dropped out almost immediately. And I've always had sales dependent jobs. So I've learned how to do it. And I think it's important to have ways of talking that keep people engaged and controlling the conversation. But when I go set up that table, I never sell anything. I don't even try, because nobody cares about my stupid clothes. I always say that. I always say that to Sophia before she goes and sets up. If she's, thinking maybe we're needing a big day, and I can tell she's getting in the mood of like wanting to go sell a lot, I always go, hey, remember, nobody cares about these clothes.
Yeah.
Right? What people care about is you, your story, your message. So when we go out, I'm always real. And when people ask me, oh, what are you doing here? I go, well, man, I'm just chasing my dream. I've always wanted to run a business. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I've finally taken that leap, and I'm doing it. And here's what I'm learning. And here's what we've done so far. And I'm doing my best. And I hope one day that I can inspire people through this story. And I've always felt like I was put on this planet to make a real impact on people. And so I come set this table up today so that I can meet you, and hopefully you'll be inspired from the conversation.
Isn't it nice when you do something and you feel like I was put on this earth to do this?
Yeah.
Do you feel that way with your company?
Yeah, I feel that way with more with the fact that I feel like I'm put here to help people learn how to become better. Kind of in this personal development role. I think the business is an avenue to get that started, but I really see myself eventually being more in this field of like teaching people how to run a business, or teaching people, I don't want to say motivational speaking, but in this personal development space.
I mean,
inspiring people.
Yeah, obviously it means something to you, because if you look at a lot of the clothing that you sell, they all have like motivational quotes on them, like discipline over motivation, or I'm sure other things. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But for me, at least, like obviously I had my e-commerce business before this. I made a good amount of money. It was fun, but it never like meant anything to me. But now that I'm doing this, I'm so much happier doing this, losing all of my money than I was ever running my e-commerce business and making a lot of money. Because I feel like inspiring people through this and sitting down and talking to people and like hearing cool stories like you, that means way more than me than just selling some things online. When you actually get to like meet people like you were talking about, and just talk, have good conversations, I feel like at least to me, like that means so much.
Yeah. You know why? It's because life's not about stuff. I've been in a place where I was working a job, and I just thought, if I could just get to the point where I was working for myself, right? If I could just get to where I didn't have a boss, and I could wake up every day, and I could work when I wanted, and I could follow my own schedule, and I could make money, and I could make a living. I don't even need a ton of stuff. If I could just get to that point, then I'd be happy, right? Well,
isn't it nice having your own schedule?
Yeah, but it's not making me happy, right? I can just continue on this path, and I will want something else. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go, oh, if I could just get to a place where we're doing like $1,000 a day, then I'll be happy. If we can get $1,000 a day, now how many people are going to be wearing the brand? Like, then I'll be happy, right? Well, we're there, not happy. That's not what's making me happy. I am happy, but it's not because of those things. There's days that if I focus on the numbers, or I focus on, stuff that I'm getting. How much am I going to get from this? What do I need? What do I need? I'm always almost like depressed, almost more depressed than I was when I was working my 9-to-5 job. The times that I feel fulfilled are when I'm impacting people. I'm helping, whether it's inspiring them or I'm teaching them or motivating them or I'm even just learning about them. When I'm with people and I'm making an impact on another human, like that's where I'm feeling fulfilled. That's why you too, running some e-commerce store where you're making a few dollars here and there, selling widgets to people that you've never met. Yeah, it's just stuff. And you could sell 10,000 of them and you'll go, I just wish I could get 100,000.
Yeah.
And you'll do that. And you'll go, but maybe add 1 million. Mm-hmm. And it'll always leave you feeling empty.
Yeah.
And you get to do this. You get to go, man, that guy spent an hour, 2 hours of his night, busy schedule, come in here, talk with me, be a part of what I'm doing. And I got to let him maybe grow a little bit through what we're doing here, right? Or I just got to let him talk and be the star of the show for 2 hours. How good did he feel because of that?
Yeah.
That's why you feel that way.
Yeah. The part that I love is people don't understand the story, how much of a story there is behind everyone and everything. And I love that people come on here and just tell their story to the world. I think it's so cool to just hear people's stories.
Yeah, that's good, man.
How often do people come up to you and just be like, yo, like, are you the guy from
like
LIFTID?
Like you did the other day at the
yeah,
gym?
exactly. Like I did.
It's a lot more now. I mean, definitely every day, a couple times a day.
So does that, I watched a YouTube video of yours and you were saying that as much as you love it, it's draining for you to talk to all of these people.
Did I say that?
You did say that.
Yeah, it can be. But no, I do love it. I mean, I love it more than.
So does that make you feel happy when someone comes up to you?
Yeah, it makes me feel happy. And I think, so I had this moment the other week. And so I was set up at a table in Coral Springs. And this kid came up to me, I think he was probably 19, 20 years old. He goes, "Are you Caleb Troutt?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." I think you said that too. I can't remember if you...
I think I was like, are you Caleb? Mm-hmm. And then I was like, yeah,
like,
we've been DMing back and forth.
He said it like he would have said, like, "Are you Mark Wahlberg?" Like, he said, like, my
awesome.
full name. And I was like, "Yeah, but don't, like, call me that." And he said, "Man," he was like, "I've been watching your YouTube videos, and I've been following your Instagram, and you're one of the biggest inspirations to me." And he's like, "I love what you're doing, and it's inspiring me to go start my own business too." And I was like, "That's awesome, man." And we're talking for probably 10, 15 minutes. And, as the conversation goes, I talk the way I talk with you. I'm very passionate about helping people. And so I'm kind of motivating him and teaching him. And towards the end of the conversation, he stops. He's like, "Man, what's crazy is you're like the same person in person that you are online." And when he said that, I was like, "Yeah, I'm just me." Like, what do you mean me online? Mm-hmm. And it was like, for a second, it was the first time that I had this feeling where I was like, this is like how famous people feel. Mm-hmm. When somebody comes up to them and talks to them and goes, "Man, it's like you're the same person."
Yeah.
Because we are. I am. And I can't even say we are. Like, I'm not famous. Mm-hmm. But it was that first time that I had that feeling. And I just thought, this is dangerous. Because the more that this happens, the more that this grows, the more that kids like this are going to look at me and think I'm different.
Yeah. They think like you don't want them to think that you're just doing it for the cameras. That type of thing?
No. Like, they think that there's something different about me. Mm-hmm. Like, when that kid said that, I'm like, you need to understand, 2 years ago, I was waking up and staring at my Keurig as my coffee was being made, wondering how much longer I could work this job. I was a normal guy that had no following, 700 followers on Instagram, and no business, and nothing really to offer the world except to show up for the hours that I had for my job, and then hang out on the weekends with a few friends that I had. Mm-hmm. That was me 2 years ago. The fact that I now am in a position where this kid is looking at me through this screen, it's like I wish I could just explain, but I'm just 15 months worth of decisions away from being an absolute nobody. Mm-hmm. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this, is because I'm starting to learn. While I'm not successful, I am still me. and I'm still like an idiot. And I'm still stupid, and I still mess up all the time, and I still feel like I'm not good enough to do anything. And I still wonder if I'm doing the right thing. And I still have all of these same feelings that I had when I started. I just have gone.
Yeah.
And I've just done things, and I've just been with reckless abandon, like making decisions that I thought were the right one. And sometimes they are, and sometimes they aren't. And it's like I hope as this thing grows that kids can see that and go, I can do that. Because there's nothing special about him, and there's nothing special about me. And so I'm just going to make decisions. I'm just going to go with reckless abandon.
I saw this clip today. I don't remember if it was on like Instagram or TikTok, one of those social media platforms. And it was this motivational speaker, and he goes, with everything in life, you're taught to practice at it to get better. If you want to get better at going to the gym, you go to the gym to get better. If you want to get better at playing basketball, you play basketball to get better. But for some reason with business, it's the opposite. You want to get better at business? Okay, read about someone else who started a business.
Yeah.
Why not just go for it? The meaning of entrepreneur is someone who takes on risk to start a business. So just go for it. You have nothing to lose, especially if you're under the age of like 50. You have even if you're over the age of 50, you have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose no matter what. It doesn't matter how old you are. Yeah. I mean, if you're 10, probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a good time to start learning, like a lemonade stand or something.
Look, one of the biggest people that has always inspired me is Christian Guzman because of what he's done, and he owns Alphalete, and he's big. I think he's
I'm not familiar with
partial owner of Ghost. You know, Ghost Energy
yeah,
Drinks.
yeah,
So he's
okay.
partial owner of Ghost. Basically, this guy, he's very famous. A lot of people watching this probably know who he is, and he started a YouTube channel when he was in college. Just kind of became this YouTube guy. Grew a pretty big following. Started making clothes. Grew that business to what it is now. I think it's worth about like $50 million is what they do. So it's called Alphalete.
I've heard of the brand, yeah.
It's a big brand, right? Opens a gym in Houston. And that gym is now called Alphaland. He's opened a gym and shut it, broken it down to make it bigger, I think he's done that 7 times.
Wow, that's crazy.
Basically where he's at now is he runs this show called Summer Shred, which is a bodybuilding / physique show. He owns this gym called Alphaland, which is like an influencer's destination. Partial owner in Ghost, owns the brand Alphalete. Big fitness guy, influencer. And started from nothing. He grew this following first before he started the business when it came to like the clothes. I saw a video just today where he was talking about how he put $12,000 on for his t-shirts. Put $12,000 down, got the shirts in, and the sizing wasn't right. And so this business guy gave him the advice to not start selling those because they weren't perfect. He goes, you get a customer once and you don't do it right with that first customer, they'll never come back, which is true.
Absolutely.
Now, I think the reason people see stuff like that and they're so worried to start a business because they're so worried to look stupid. And then they'll convince themselves that it's the right decision to not look stupid because they convince themselves, well, if I start a business and the product's not perfect and everything's not exactly the way it needs to be, then I'm going to give a bad impression and I'm never going to get these customers back. But you got to remember, for me, when I started this, and this is how it is for most people, how many people are looking at the beginning of your business?
Yeah.
Your parents and maybe 2 friends. Mm-hmm. Not many people have eyes on it.
Yeah.
And so when I made these first 200 t-shirts, the logo on half of them was off. And I still sold them.
Yeah.
Because I had no choice. Because I put the $4,000 down to buy
Otherwise, you're losing the money, and then you're done.
Otherwise, that credit card bill is going to come in 30 days, and I'm not going to be able to pay it off.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm selling these. I'm going to go out and I'm going to explain to them, hey, this is the first shirt that I've ever made. I know you can see the logo's kind of a little off. I appreciate it if you buy it anyways.
Yeah.
Because really, like I say, it's not about the clothes. I'm trying to spread this message. And then I learned, I don't make that mistake again. And then you make a mistake later on, and then you learn, and you don't make that mistake again. I made so many mistakes from the beginning, but it didn't matter because how many people have eyes on your brand when it's at 10 followers?
Yeah.
Right? You can make a podcast in here and have some horrendous thing happen that if it happened on Rogan, it would be like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't matter that much here because it's not that big. You actually want it to happen here because it's not that big.
Yeah.
So that you can learn. And then
I don't even like calling them mistakes. I like calling them learning experiences because it's not a mistake. Because if it didn't happen, you would have got it wrong another time down the road and with $10 million instead of now getting it wrong with a lot less money.
Yeah,
you know? So it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
It's not a mistake. It's a thing that was meant to happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that. That's what you just said is something I think about a lot, which is things happen.
Yeah.
Right? Some feel good and some feel bad. But in reality, there is no good or bad thing that happens. Things happen. Right? So you made $10,000 today. That's a thing that happened. Not good or bad. It could be either.
Yeah.
You lost $10,000 today. It's a thing that happened. Not good or bad. Could be either. The way that it's going to be either is based on how you react. Mm-hmm. So things are going to happen to us all the time. We need to stop looking at these outside circumstances as if they're good or they're bad things happening. We just need to go, okay, this is a thing that happened. Now it's my opportunity to turn this into a good thing, however I can. Right? And so I think you're hitting that perfect. Learning from it is a great way to do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of more examples.
And I've noticed the sort of honesty and mentality that you have, and you sell some clothing that have Bible scriptures on the back. So how much do you attest that mentality of yours to religion?
Yeah, it's not a religious brand, but I'm a Christian guy, and I believe very heavily in a God that's in control of everything, and in Jesus, who I believe is the Savior of us all. And I haven't always been that way. When I first started this business, I started to think a lot about the fact that I was going to die. And it's something that I always avoided. I tried not to think about that. And I think the reason is because at that time, my life didn't really mean anything. And so the thought of dying was scary because it was like, well, you're going to die before you've done any of the things that you want to do. You've fulfilled any sort of a purpose. I started to think about the fact that, I was going to die, and that was what really drove me to start the business. And I felt God wanted me to start the business, but it was like, you think if we really only have this one opportunity here on this earth. Yeah. I mean, and I know everyone says this, but you have to get in your own mind to a place where you think about it truly. And you think about, okay, we have a day that is already predestined for us that is going to be the last one. Now, what if you knew what that day was? It wouldn't really matter how far in the future it was. If you knew what day it was, you're going to live every single day leading up to that point with so much more intention.
Absolutely.
If I knew today that I was going to die in a week, I would live that next week with as much intention as possible.
For sure.
But if I also knew that I was going to die in 50 years, it would put a reality to it. And I would go, I don't care if it's 50 years. Every single one of those days is one of those days that I'm not going to get back. I'm going to live every single day with as much purpose, passion, and intention as possible. And so that's why I started the business. Then as I started going through the business and things like I was saying are happening, I started to understand how little control I had on outside circumstances. And I started to think, well, what, if you think about this whole life and these outside circumstances that just kind of can happen to us as just random, it's such a hopeless way to live.
Yeah.
Assuming a bad thing can happen to a good person on any day, and there's no reason behind it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's all by chance, and it's just luck of the draw. That's like hopelessness. But if I look at life and I go, there's a creator that's in control of all of this, and all of these things that are happening, whether they're good or bad, they're being worked out for good. He's in control of it. Yeah. And so even if I can't see it being
everything happens for a reason type of thing.
That is it. And I try to say it in a way where it's not so cliche-ish.
Yeah.
Because I think people, they just, oh yeah, of course, everything happens for a reason. But no, really, like when I'm stuck in traffic, my initial human reaction is to go, I really wish this wasn't happening. And then I go, no, if you didn't want this traffic to be here and you wanted me to be at my destination already, you could make that happen.
Yeah.
You're in control of all of this. You could easily do that. So there's some reason that you have me here in this traffic. And I may never know why, but I trust that you're in control of it where I can't see. You're working this out for my good.
Yeah. I saw this YouTube video that you posted where you were saying a whole bunch of bad things happening, like your truck broke down and one of the gyms that you were doing tables at is no longer letting you set up your table, and you go, this is all a test. This is all God testing me to see how I react to this.
Yeah.
And I love looking at things with that mindset. Whenever a roadblock hits you, you're like, this is God testing me. If I can move past this, then I can move past anything else he's going to throw my way.
Yeah. It's strengthened you up. I mean, it's one of these cliche things. It's like, if it doesn't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. But when you look at the way that God has used people in the Bible, and again, I think this is why I think I was put here for a reason, is because I try to have such a different perspective. And I do, because of all these things that I've done in my life. I haven't always been this very Christian guy at all. Mm-hmm. But when you look at these stories in the Bible of the people that do big things, and they're very important characters, so like King David, somebody that everyone knows because there's a sculpture of him in Europe, right? Was ruler over, all these nations forever. And you look at Paul, which is somebody who wrote pretty much all the New Testament. Or you look at someone like Joseph, who again was king and ruled for a long time. All of these people have stories where they went through extremely hard times. And in those hard times, a lot of times we're questioning why they were going through them. But always God uses those people as the people that are going to do big things. And so David was in a cave for 40 years. And so sometimes whenever I'm going through a hard time, I think, what would it be like to be on year 27 in that cave? Think about it, really. Yeah. You are now 27 years into a period where you've been isolated, you're alone, you're having to, scavenge for your own food. Like, literally think about this. Like, you're hiding from the king that wants to kill you at that time, and all of this is happening seemingly out of your control. And if you believe in a God, you're probably at that year, 27, going, what are you doing? Do you have any plan here? I'm 27 years in. I've had faith for a while. At what point is this going to turn around? You still got 13 years. But after this, it was the guy that they now have a sculpture of in Europe. Still the most famous sculpture, the sculpture of David, right? And is one of the most famous people that ever lived, this entire planet. So you think about that man at the end of his life. God said, yeah, I could have just let you be another guy. Or I could have let you live the legacy, the life that you did, and made the impact on the world the way that you did. But if you choose the life where you're just a normal guy, you get no hard times. You get a few, but not as many. But if you choose this life where you leave a big impact, you got 40 years in a cave. But at the end, this is what you've left. Yeah. I'm pretty sure David would go, at the time, I didn't understand it, and at the time, I wouldn't have wanted it, but I'm glad. And all of these stories are that same way. Mm-hmm. So when I go through these extremely hard times where I have no idea what's going on, I go, if I turn from you now, this will not be worked for good. Yeah. But if I stay the course, I know that you're doing this because you've got some big plan for me. And it could be 40 freaking years. That's what I got to buckle up for. Is knowing at the worst possible point, I have to understand it could just be the very big. It could be year 27. Mm-hmm. So, I think very deeply about all this stuff. And I think most people go through life acting as if they'll never die, acting as if they're invincible. And because of that, they never truly live. Mm-hmm. They just exist. They let time pass them by, and then their life means nothing. And I'm very passionate about the fact that I'm pretty bold on that. and I try to show
Yeah.
people this is the way that I've learned to live.
Yeah. I brought up your ambassador / athlete program earlier, so I wanted to get into that. What is that, and how does one become? What are the requirements? Who are these people?
Well, like, yeah, so we start the business. We've always known, like, well, you know, when you're running a clothing line like this, you probably at some point need ambassadors. So it was like 2 months ago, we just start looking for people really on Instagram because we're really local. And so we're looking more for people that are outside of South Florida. Not that we have a lot of ambassadors that are here in South Florida too, but we were just using it as a way to try to get the word out. So looking for people that we feel fit our brand, right? So they're disciplined. They're constantly posting, whether they get a ton of likes or not, right? We're seeing them keep at it. Mm-hmm. We're seeing them working out, working hard, and we're seeing them spread a good message more than anything. So where you see a lot of people on Instagram where their whole page is basically, look at me, help me get famous. And they're not saying that, but it's all me. Look at me posing. Look at this sick edit of me. Look at me. And I was really looking for people that, whether it was in the captions or the way their videos were, looking for people that were trying to help others and inspire or educate or motivate other people. And so, you know, we find these people, doesn't really matter how many followers they have. Basically say, hey, we're not a big brand yet. We know we're going to be. And so we're looking for people that want to be along for that ride, right? You come join us now. You help be a small part of growing from these beginning stages. And as we grow and grow and grow, we hope you stick with us forever. And so 5-10 years from now, we'll be able to look back and go, man, what an impact we've made as a business together. You, the ambassador, and, you know, me owning the business and growing it. And so we started doing that about 2 months ago, and now we got 85 of them. Wow. Just made an Instagram post about them today, and they've been a really, really big help in helping us grow outside of South Florida. I'm not perfect, and I'm learning as I go, but I tell them all the time, I'm doing my very best to give you guys a good experience working with us. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doing my best.
And is your goal to keep adding as many people as possible, or are you trying to keep it smaller and sort of give it that like community like feeling?
I have thought about that because it's definitely not to just get as many people as possible.
Right.
But it's also not to keep it small. Like I want this brand to be big.
You got to find like that good balance.
And so I think really what I'm finding is you're always going to have people that are kind of in, and you're going to have people that are super passionate about it. And that's okay. And I think it's good to just let that filter itself out. I'm fine with somebody that wants a code, that posts about it once every week and isn't super engaged in the group chats that we've got going on. I also love the people that when they do it, they're super about it and they're always in the group chat. They're posting every day and they're always tagging us. And so I basically go, hey, I'm going to take a flyer on you as long as I kind of get the feeling that you would be a good fit. And if you end up being in that group chat and never saying anything, it's not the worst thing in the world. But if you end up being somebody that really sticks with us and joins, and I think in the long run, it's just going to kind of work in a way where we know those people that are really about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we know those people that just have the code. And again, there's nothing wrong with those people because a lot of times they're busy. They're firefighters. And so they're working, 24, 48-hour shifts. And it's hard for them to be on their phone all the time. And I'm fine with that. I don't care. But I think, that strong group will be the group where one day we're looking back and maybe we're meeting up together and we're like, man, sick. Look at what we've really done. And I think the bigger we get too, I think the more you're going to have these people that are just the casual ambassadors kind of maybe get more and more engaged as they start to see there's something in it for them.
Yeah.
Again, totally fine. I'm not even saying that in a bad way. I want to be able to help them. So that's, I think, how it's going to end up working out.
You have this shirt called the Bum Roast shirt.
Yeah.
And the picture is C-Bum wearing your shirt.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, when I first started this business, I lived in Stuart, Florida. And so he lives there and works out at Revive there. And I worked out at Revive. And so I'd seen him a few times just casually working out. And I had started the business. And I saw him. And my initial gut reaction was, you don't want to have to disturb him. But again, I just go, work that needs to be done. And so I say,
Yeah, exactly.
hey, Chris. And he's like, what's up? And I was like, hey, man, I know you do like work with Young LA and you've got your own brand even. Like, I don't expect you to post anything, but I'm like just starting this business out. I'm really passionate about it. And I really do want to, put everything I can into this. It would be super cool if I could just get you to put a shirt on, snap a picture with me. And you keep the shirt, of course. I hope you love it. He was like, oh, of course, bro. I'd love to support. Do you have 3X? And I had a 3X. And so I got it from my truck, and he just popped it on right there in the gym. And then I snapped that picture, and he was always super nice. Like,
How many did I bring in a lot of sales to the business?
No, not at all.
Really?
No, not at all. Yeah, It's honestly, and I don't hate having that experience, but it's one of those things that I think people think they need to have something like that in order for the business to be successful. And it is definitely cool to have that pinned to the top.
Yeah.
And it gives a little bit of credibility, as we're looking for ambassadors and stuff like that. But it didn't help at all with sales. And
really? That's interesting.
Yeah, like it was October 12th, I think. Like, I was just 2 months into business. Like, my website was trash. My Instagram was trash. It was just a cool picture. But it wasn't like I wasn't even prepared for it to give me a big boost of sales.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to see that and think that was the reason that I'm big. It wasn't. It was just a cool step along the way and something that's pinned to the top of the Instagram now. All the sales have still come through hard work.
Right.
But definitely a cool experience.
Yeah. So what's your best-selling product right now? Or all time, what's your best-selling product?
All time, probably that shirt.
Really?
Yes. So, I mean, like, it is now that we've grown. It's the shirt that most people get because they're like, oh, that's the shirt that C-Bum got. That's the one that I'll get. We didn't have, like, a spike in sales because of it, but I think people do buy that shirt because he's wore it. But I would say outside of that, we have a shirt that has wings on the back.
Right. I've seen that.
That's probably the most popular one. Either the rose, the one with the wings, or the one I'm wearing, which is the one with the spade.
I like the one with the red one with the card,
king.
the king. Yeah.
So
that
the cards,
cool.
I've always been like I gamble a little bit and I like poker and stuff. So I just had cards.
I've noticed that all of your shirts just come in one color, and it's not like you can pick different colors for each design. Is there a strategy behind that?
No, it's just when I get them, I have to buy in bulk, and so I don't have the money right now to really like get a bunch of different colors.
What if you made them? What if you sold your shirts to order?
Yeah, that would just not be the way to do it because it would take so much longer. First of all, for the sale, like for the shipping. So if I had to do that, it would also cost me more money because of the way that I get them printed locally here in West Palm. Like it's not practical.
That's awesome when you get everything printed locally. Like you're a local small business. I love the aspect of that.
And the big reason is because I sell them still a lot in person. And so because of that,
that makes a lot of sense.
I need the inventory with me to be able to go out. And so that would mean, if I wanted the Kings shirt, that Kings design in 10 different colors, I would need to buy in bulk, small, medium, large, XL, double XL, 3XL in 10 different color shirts.
Right.
5 of each size and the King's design on all of them. That right there is a lot of money. Yeah. And who knows if you're going to sell them all. So that's why I do it kind of the way that I do it.
So you just kind of like, you make the design, you're like, oh, it looks good on this color. I'll just order it in this color type of thing.
Yes. Eventually,
Right. Okay. So yeah, I understand. Your latest drop, you talked about it not going too well.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Sophia says she thinks it's because the jerseys are something that's a little bit more out there. It's something that when people wear it, it's like you stand out. And I'm one of those types of guys. I like to wear stuff that like sticks out. She said most people aren't like that. Most people like black, white, basic.
Right. Yeah, like how many times do you see someone wearing a jersey?
Yeah.
Especially in the gym.
And that's why I thought it would be sick because I was like, oh, everyone probably will want this because they can't get it anywhere else.
Nowadays, everyone likes to just go with the flow. You know, they don't want to be that guy who wears a jersey to the gym.
Yeah.
They don't want to be that guy who stands out, I guess. Everyone just, at least from my opinion, in my eyes, and from what I've seen, people don't like to be that guy that stands out.
Yeah. So that's, I think, why. I think another reason, I think it could just be timing and marketing. And like, it didn't seem like our Instagram posts were getting as much traction leading up to that. And I'm sure the algorithm plays into that, but like, maybe it was just a mistake on the marketing side. And it didn't really feel like, it just didn't really feel like there was enough energy around it. Like we'd done it the right way. So I was real stressed that whole week leading up to it. And so maybe I was off. I don't know.
And
it was,
so how do you think you prevent that from happening going forward?
I mean, you learn. I mean, I definitely am not going to push jerseys as the hot seller.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to buy
exactly.
a lot more. But I think, maybe just spend a little bit more time promoting it, do a little bit better job with the Instagram.
So you would attest it to the marketing. You think
maybe
you could do a better
partially,
marketing job on
partially, probably. Yes.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot. You got any questions for me or anything else you want to talk about?
How long are we at right now?
I think about an hour or a little bit less.
Okay. This is fun, man.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
Did you enjoy it? Yeah. It's a fun time.
The light turning off outside. Like, it's getting dark.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Time flies by when you're having a good time.
So it's what, like 7:15?
It's 7:23.
I don't have anywhere to be until the football game.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, good thing you came on time because you'd be surprised how many people don't come on time. Like, they'll show up at 7 when it's scheduled for 6. And I'm like, bro, there's football on tonight. So,
yeah. Do you watch football?
Big football guy.
Where do you usually just watch at your house or you go somewhere?
I'm either my house or, like, a friend's house. I don't really, like, go to a bar or anything.
Yeah.
Or like
I usually go to, like, not Buffalo Wild Wings. There's a spot. I'm from Atlanta. And there's a spot up there that we used to go to all the time. Wild Wings Cafe. Yeah, Wild Wings Cafe. And we just don't have any spots like that really down here, except I just found this spot in Delray called Brews Room, which they have brews rooms all over.
Yeah.
But there's that one is like the spot for football.
Really?
It's owned by a diehard Ravens fan. And so they have this whole section that is, you have to be wearing a Ravens jersey or something to sit in it.
That's hilarious.
It's like, it has Ravens flags surrounding it.
Lamar is from Boynton. He went to Boynton Beach High School.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I have him on my fantasy.
His best friend, or one of his best friends from high school, was on the podcast.
What?
Yeah.
What's his name?
His friend?
Yeah.
Dooley.
No way.
Right now he's in the XFL.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
What are the odds of that?
Me and him are tight.
When did he graduate high school? Do you know?
Lamar?
Yeah. It was probably right around the same time as me.
I could look it up.
I was 2015. Boynton Beach High School.
So you're a big Falcons fan?
No, I hate the Falcons.
What are you?
Dolphins.
Really?
I became everything Miami when I moved down here, except baseball.
It says he graduated in 2015.
That's my year, dude.
Yeah, so if you ever see Lamar's highlights.
He went to Louisville, right?
Yeah, if you ever look at Lamar's highlights and you look at number 15, receiver who's throwing the ball to.
That's Dooley.
That's Dooley. That's my guy. Yeah, we've trained a lot.
That's
in
cool.
the gym and on the field.
So his guy's my age.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right around my age.
Yeah, definitely.
That's super cool, man.
He actually used to. He might still, maybe at a different location, but he used to work at the LA Fitness, the Signature Club. So you probably have seen him there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's got dreads.
Bro,
tall.
I can't wait to go get my Tyreek Hill jersey after this. That is so sick, isn't it?
Yeah,
dude. Like I don't know, because I feel like will it be worth a lot? Like let's say 10.
I feel like for $300, it's a good chance.
I feel like
like.
Let's really say, right, so I'm 26. So let's say 20 years from now. I'm 46 years old. And Tyreek Hill went down as like one of Miami's all-time greatest receivers.
Or one of the NFL's greatest
He really, yeah, he probably will.
I mean, just look, he's in Miami. Look what he done in Kansas City.
Yeah, no, I mean, he has one Super Bowl, right? Or two.
With Kansas, he has
I think he won. I think they won.
He has one with Kansas.
Yeah.
Because last year, Chiefs won again, but he was on the Dolphins.
Yeah. So they won twice already with Mahomes.
But he was only on one of those teams.
Yes.
But Dolphins.
Hey, they look good.
Maybe.
But the Bills game.
Are you a fan of Tua?
Yeah.
You think he's good?
Yeah, I love him. Yeah, he looks like a Drew Brees type of guy to me. Like he seems like very like quick release, very accurate.
I feel like because he's
short.
left-handed and we're not used to seeing that, it just looks awkward.
Who was left-handed? There was another left-handed quarterback that was also really good. I can't remember. Do you know who?
I can't think of it. But back to the sports bar thing real quick. I don't know if you're a UFC guy at all.
A little bit.
But me and my friends, we go to this place called AJ's. It's It's on Jog, and I don't remember, but we watch UFC there, and it's awesome. Like the place is packed, everyone's going crazy.
That sounds fun.
So I don't know what it's like for football, but
hey, UFC, I'll go. I'm down.
Bro,
see some people beat up on each other.
Yeah, I'll text you next time we're going.
You're a Rogan guy, so I guess that's why
big Rogan guy. I've trained jiu-jitsu and boxing for a long time, so I'm just a big UFC guy.
What I would love to know is, how do you plan on making money from this thing?
So the way that you make money from podcasting is, number one, monetization, like on YouTube, mainly YouTube, but TikTok, you could also start making money now. But I think the main
you can't get it from the podcast app on your iPhone, can you?
Through Apple Podcasts?
Like, I just have Podcasts, the app.
Yeah, that's Apple Podcasts. I'm not sure about that, but I guess the second biggest way would be advertisements. So people want to advertise things on your show. That's probably, if not even bigger than monetization, how most podcasters make their money. Would you be
aggressive in going and finding advertisers? Or would you just try to let it be?
Probably not, because I'm not focused on getting advertisers and making money from this right now. Right now, I'm having such a great time doing it. And my goal is to be massive and have tons of advertisers competing to advertise on my show. But if an opportunity came up, I would love to advertise a product. Obviously, my numbers right now, no one probably wants to advertise with me.
How many views? I didn't look. How many views do you get on YouTube?
YouTube, the clips do a lot better than the full hour podcast. So not that many. I don't know the exact number for the full podcast, but it's not that many. But for the clips, they do a couple thousand. Yeah. Some of them on Instagram, the reels do really well. I've got a couple reels with 10,000
views.
Good. So yeah, it's not bad.
I'm learning, and I have a YouTube, and you see the videos I do.
Yeah, your YouTube video, your numbers on YouTube are for the
comparable to yours?
No, they're a lot better than mine.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. They're not that good.
Mine are even worse.
Okay. I get I think the most I got was 100 views, but it's cool.
Oh, so I think my most is also probably 100 views. So yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's around the same thing.
But the shorts also, it just feels very clicky. Very it's very algorithmic. Does it hit or not? And is it a cool? And I just don't. The reason I don't love it is because the way that I see everybody just copies. I'm sure you see it the same way, and I'm sure you'll do it, and that's okay. But these people that start sitting in front of the camera, they make a little video, 15 seconds. Do you want to become the best self, that you could ever be? Course, yeah. Well, not only that, but it's the words that pop up, and it's the little emojis.
Yeah, so I do all of that too.
Because together,
the way I see it is people have such short attention spans these days. That's why the clips do so much better numbers than the long formatted videos. Even Rogan, he has a deal with Spotify, a $200 million deal, but in his contract it says that he's allowed to post clips on YouTube. Because people have that such short term, they can't focus for. It's just something that people have nowadays. So that's why the clips do so much better. So I feel for as a podcast, you kind of have to post them if you want your long form. If you want your long form videos to get more engagement. You
know how I think about this is I'm so anti, and it was funny. I don't know if we were on whenever we were talking about this, but we were talking to my millennial or a Gen Z.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna be it.
And I'm just I'm so anti everything that is going on now.
What do you mean by that? Explain.
I'm anti. I'm not anti social media, but I'm anti everyone wanting to get influencer famous. Everyone wanting to make $1 million and on real estate. Everyone's a real estate person now. Yeah. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a brand, and it just feels very everything's following this trend, and I'm very anti that. But what I'm very anti also is this whole short attention span. People kind of just mindlessly scrolling, seeing things that give them this little dopamine rush. And so instead of me thinking about it as, well, this is an opportunity for me to make money. And so why would I miss out on this opportunity if I could jump on this? I'm the perfect person to sit in front of the camera and make these little clips with the words that pop up and the emojis. But I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that because everyone's doing it and nobody's actually, when they make those clips, they're not thinking about how are they going to provide value to anybody. You can almost feel it through the screen. What they're thinking about is, how am I going to get famous from this video? Right? There's a difference between wanting to have a big reach to people because that's going to allow you to impact people more, and having a big reach to people so that you can get the attention on yourself.
Right.
And it's a very small, that's a line that it's hard to kind of tell the difference between what is somebody doing and what are they not.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change that culture. And I'm trying to go, I don't care if you have a short attention span. If you want the value that I'm bringing, come watch my video. I'm not going to cut. And if that ends up biting me in the butt when I'm dying, I'm going to leave this earth the same way everyone else will, with nothing else that I can bring with me.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like I'm meant to be this guy that is like a catalyst for change in the culture.
Yeah.
And I see people looking to me as I don't like being like this, but I see people looking to me as like somebody that they would follow, like somebody that is like a change, able to make change, and then people
like a voice of impact.
Yes, I have influence, and so the way that I think is so different. I think than how most people think. I don't think you should go buy a house and rent it out to somebody, and think that that's going to make you passive income. I think I was talking to somebody about this today. I think if you want to go buy a house and rent it out to somebody, and the reason for that is so that you can make some extra passive income, you're in for rude awakening when that income is very not passive. Now, if you want to go buy a house and rent it out to somebody because you're passionate about real estate, and you've always been passionate about real estate, and you love the feeling knowing that there's a family being raised in a house that you own, and you get to provide that opportunity for them, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think because I think this way that's different, and I have this influence over people, I'm like, well, I'm going to just be me 100%. And I'm not going to follow these trends. And I know people that think, different than me will change. Some of them at least.
I was once in this, it was like a marketing, not marketing, but like a business type class in high school. And we watched this TED Talk, and I don't remember who did it, but this guy was going on about it's not how you do it, it's why you do it. And I feel like that's exactly what you're talking about. It's why are you doing this? So for my thing, there's two things that I love doing. I love starting and running businesses. I love doing that. And I love talking to people. Right? What's the one thing where you can do both? A podcast. Number 3, if you look at all of my clips, at least one from, if not more, from every guest is always a motivational clip. And it's interesting because those usually do the best.
Yeah, of course.
Compared to hearing people's stories, like a small clip of someone's story. The motivational clips are the ones that are getting 10,000 views on Instagram Reels.
You're probably going to get a lot of those out of this one.
Hopefully. Yeah. Awesome, because those do great. And those make you look really good, which is hopefully going to grow your brand. And that's the goal from this, for your brand to grow, and for you to gain a better following of yourself, and people to hear your story and hear how motivational you are if they haven't already.
Yeah.
But also, I'm like you said, I was not a big social media guy. My social media is like, my personal ones are private. My Instagram account is private. I don't even have a TikTok. I have a TikTok for my company, but I don't have a personal TikTok account. Yeah,
I never had a TikTok. I was like, I'm a little older, I feel like. I mean, you can be 26 and have a TikTok, but I just feel I kind of missed that. Like, I remember.
Yeah, do you do TikTok for your company?
I do. Is like the smallest amount of focus. Yeah. Like, I honestly put YouTube Shorts and TikTok at the very bottom of my priority list when it comes to like.
You can just upload the same videos to
create the video on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is stupid. I know, but that's just the way that I do it.
I mean, if it works for you, then if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I have an app that I can do it, and I do sometimes do it on the app, and then I could. But again, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate this idea that you're just going to like make something and then you're just going to go like post it to whoever wants to watch. Like when I make my Instagram posts, I think about all of those followers that have met me. And I think, what is going to be a message that's going to connect with people that have met me in person, heard this story, and believe in it? TikTok is a little different because I don't get people to follow the TikTok in person. And so if I'm making a TikTok, I'm going, what is going to be a TikTok that's going to tell these people my story? They need to first hear the story before they can see some cool video of me packaging up orders. But the cool videos of packaging up orders do get clicks.
Yeah.
I know they do. But again, it's just not something that I believe in, of just trying to get famous for famous sake.
So for me, I guess, I mean, the famous does come along with this, but that's not my goal. But I want as many people as possible to hear my voice. The meaning behind ZQUAKE is my generation gets a bad rep.
Yeah, it definitely
it's
does.
easy to see.
Yeah.
Everyone says, "Oh, these Gen Z this, Gen Z that," and I don't appreciate that because that's my generation, and it gives me a bad rep directly.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to be a voice of opinion, and I want to express how Gen Z really feels, and I feel like I'm a good guy to do that. A lot of things that are going around about Gen Z are just it's such a minority group of people who in Gen Z that think that way.
Yeah.
So hopefully people see this and are like, oh, well, Gen Z, maybe they're not actually that bad.
Well, here's the thing. Whether they are that bad or not, I actually wouldn't be able to tell you because I don't spend enough time in high schools because that would be weird. But I do know that there's a lot less people every single day that are motivated and willing to go chase the big dream and willing to take the big risk. More and more, you look back to the 60s, 70s, everybody wanted to be an entrepreneur and they were doing it.
Yeah.
And it was hard to do because everyone was doing it. So if you wanted to open up a store, you're opening up a store next to 10 other people that were opening up their store, and everyone was aggressive and everyone wanted to win. And over time, it's gotten less and less cool to win. And it's gotten more and more, quote unquote, scary to take that risk because that's what society has been telling everybody forever. When you're a junior in college or in high school, they sit you down and they say, you need to start thinking about college. What in the world? Why do you sit somebody down and tell them you need to start thinking about this as your only option forward when that is not even remotely the only option forward? And so when I talk to somebody that's in high school, and I always ask them, are you planning on going to college? They almost always answer, yeah, of course. And then I always follow it up with, great, why? And I usually get either a blank stare or they're like, well, like, should you just go? Or my parents want me to.
That's what everybody else is doing, so why not?
Right?
Yeah.
And I go, no. You're about to make one of the biggest decisions of your life. How you're going to spend the next 4 years, and a lot of money is going to come along with that. You need to make that decision for a reason. Like, I wouldn't, today, just go drop $100,000 on a Lamborghini and sign up for a lease. That's $200,000 or $2,000 a month. That's a big decision. I would think that decision through and make sure that that was the right decision for me if I was going to go do something like that. People look at college differently for some reason. And so I'm trying to show people there are options that you can go through. And honestly, very few of them require college. Very few. And so it's like, why are you going to college? And if they go, well, I've always been passionate about philanthropy and fraternities and I'm networking within that kind of elite group of people that are into college. That's one way. Or if the basic.
If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you go to college.
I go to college.
Yeah.
But if there's any other reason, like my parents want me to, I go, well, that's not your parents' decision. And it's so hard for people to understand that. My parents didn't want me to drop out of college. My parents didn't want me to become a trainer because what are you going to do when you're old and you can't train anymore? And my parents didn't really, I guess they did support me in kind of moving down to South Florida. But they definitely didn't want me to quit my job to start this business. There was a lot of things along this way that my parents did not want me to do. But I made those decisions. And now there's not a single person on this planet that's more proud of me than my mom or my dad. And they'll tell you they're very glad that I made the decisions that I made, even though they weren't the decisions that they would have made, because they're now able to see, wow, how my son can actually inspire me to go do these things that I wouldn't have done, the risks that I wouldn't have taken, that now I can look at and go, dang, like he's doing that.
Yeah.
And against all odds.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll tell you my theory behind why I'm in college right now. Since
Okay.
we're on the topic.
yeah, I forgot you actually did tell me you're in college.
Yeah,
So I hope none of that came across
No.
offensive.
Trust me, none of it did. But here's my theory. I've always said since I was in probably middle school, I did not want to go to college. Once I started my first e-commerce business, I was like, I'm not going to college. I've got everything set up. But then I was like, okay, well, this is not, I'm making a good amount of money, but this is not an amount of money where I'm going to be comfortable living on my own. So what am I going to do instead? I can't just do nothing. So go to college. And obviously I went early. And in high school, I was not learning anything. I would go to class, sit on my phone all day from whatever it is, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it was a waste of 7 hours of my day. Now I get this opportunity where I get to go to college a year early. The entire thing is paid for by the state, books, tuition, everything. So why not take it?
Yeah.
And honestly, I love it. I love learning, right? So in high school, I didn't learn anything. I've learned more in a month and a half that I've been in college than I've learned in 3 years of high school.
Yeah.
Like the teachers that are teaching me are smart people and they're excited to teach. It was not that way in high school.
Yeah, that's
good. And even though nothing that I'm learning is ever going to be practical to how I make money, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good.
It's not like I'm doing a million things during the day where I need that 2 hours where I'm in school, or like the couple hours a day that I'm doing work. Like I'm balancing everything so well, and it's fun. So
yeah, I know that what you're saying is good. And I've had people, kind of make the argument also, because I always say I'm actually an adamant kind of person that tells people don't do it if you're going into business. It is bad for you. And people will say, well, it's not bad for you. It just might not help. And I go, no.
Why do you think it's bad for you?
Because if it's going to take 4 years to get that degree, that's 4 years that you could be doing something else. And then people go, well, it's free. And I go, okay, so if I wanted to start a business, would I spend the next 4 years learning how to become a master chess player, spending hours a day learning how to become a master chess player, to then, when I finished those 4 years of becoming the best chess player in the world, go start a business and never again use a single skill that I learned over those 4 years? Like, that's the way that I look at college, because people will openly admit, well, of course I'm not learning anything in college, but it's not going to hurt. And then I go, well, no, but the time that you're spending not learning things that are going to be applicable does hurt you the same way that it would hurt me if I, did that. For the next 4 years, I'm going to become a professional pickleball player.
Yeah. Well, I think
learned that skill.
You need to have a plan, though. You can't just not go to college and have no plan.
Well, of course.
So I think there's
always going to be bums.
That's a big line where people are just like, I'm not going to college. But they have no plan. You need to have a plan. You can't just not go to college and do nothing. At the end of the day, you could get a degree in college, and that's going to help you get a job at some big company. That might not be your goal, but that's better than just doing nothing.
I agree. I think what I think is better if you don't have a plan at all is to either become a server or to become some sort of like retail.
In my opinion, if you don't want to go to college, you don't want to start your own company, you go to trade school. You become an electrician, you become a plumber. Those jobs pay so well nowadays. It's so hard to find good electricians and plumbers. You'll make easily 6 figures a year when you work your way up, and the schooling is way less expensive. It's way shorter. Yeah. It's just a great route, in my opinion.
If you want to be something like that, then that is, the other option. I think what most people graduate high school with is this idea that they have no idea.
Right.
At all. And they just kind of see themselves working a job that is like something to do with business. They just are like in some sort of business capacity. Here's what you'll learn. Most jobs are sales jobs. Almost all of them. Because that's what business is, selling something.
Yeah.
And so you make a product, you have to have a few people that are in HR, you have to have a few people that can kind of work the books and they do the accounting. And then everyone else has to do with sales. Marketing, the actual salespeople, the customer service people are also basically salespeople that are just reselling once people are upset. Even the managers are salespeople because they're trying to sell this vision to the people that are working beneath them. And so for most people, they graduate college or they graduate high school with this idea that they just kind of like see themselves working a job. They're probably going to be some sort of like sales capacity, whether it's any of those spots I just talked about. And so the best thing, in my opinion, is to go get a job as a server, serving food, or in retail.
Why a server?
Because both of those, you're interacting with people all day. And
So you think it's very important to be articulate with yourself and well-spoken.
Social skills.
Right.
To learn how to, the power of persuasion.
I feel like a lot of people lack that skill nowadays.
Most people do. It's the most valuable skill. It's the only skill that they don't teach you, and it's the most valuable.
I've even just within 8 episodes of this podcast, I've gotten so much better at just talking to people. It's crazy.
No,
it's not like 8 episodes.
And I can even tell from you, and it might be a little bit less with me, but I feel better, even from the beginning of this podcast to now.
You got more comfortable?
I can tell you have too.
I mean,
like we both probably have. It's just like it's human nature.
Absolutely.
To when you're talking to people frequently. Now you got to realize I set this table up every day. I'm all day, every day, meeting new people that I'm having conversations with. So I'm really good at that. That is the best skill to have because really most of these business jobs, going back to the jobs that most people are going to have, whether it's I'm in customer service or I'm an account manager or I'm a salesperson or something of the sort, really the way that you get those jobs, because they're so dependent on your social skills, has nothing to do with the resume. It has everything to do with the interview.
Yeah.
And so really what people are going to college for is the ability to get that interview. So you're going to go spend 4 years in college, hoping that at the end of those 4 years, that piece of paper that you got is going to get you the interview.
And now you don't know how to talk.
And you don't know how to talk.
Yeah.
Well, let's just also assume instead of going to college for 4 years for that paper that's going to get you the interview, let's just say you spent 4 years trying to get the interview while you weren't serving. So you were serving, and then during those 4 years, so you were DMing the hiring manager for 4 years. At some point, he's going to answer.
Yeah.
Or you show up to the office for 4 years. At some point, they're going to be like, all right, this dude really wants this job. Let's just give him an interview.
Yeah.
Like that piece of paper getting you the interview, people think of that as like such a like useful and valuable piece of paper that's going to get them that. Bro, there's so many ways you can get an interview. And I could easily, I guarantee you, any job out here, really, if I had 4 years to go get an interview with a hiring manager, I could do it in 4 years.
Absolutely.
I'd do it sooner than 4 years.
Do you think that because of your experience with training people and working one-on-one with people, that helped you become more articulate?
Yeah, well, 100%. Every single job I've had has always been face-to-face with people. And that has been
before I came on here, when I told my dad that I was recording in his conference room, he asked me who I'm recording, and like I explained to him who you are, and I was like, I don't know him well at all. I know his story a little bit, but for the 2 minutes that I talked to him at the gym, he's one of the most articulate people I've ever met. So I know it's going to be an amazing interview, and it has been.
I love that.
There are people who have like the best stories in the world, but they're not articulate with themselves. So like on a podcast, it's just not even that interesting. Yeah. Your story, being articulate with yourself, is way more interesting than the best story in the world, and the guy comes on here and he's not articulate.
Yeah.
I was just listening to interview with Joe Rogan and Francis Ngannou. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Francis, it's not a knock towards him. He's not from this country. English is his second language, but it was really hard to listen to the interview. And he has an insanely good story, and it's extremely entertaining, but it was so hard to listen to it because he's not articulate. But I mean, again, not a knock to him. English isn't his first language, but it's so important to be articulate with yourself and know how to talk.
Yeah.
And for some reason, people, I mean, actually, I know the reasons because of social media.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Or a big reason.
I mean,
people
this
just
whole COVID thing is making it
right.
worse.
COVID,
people not being in school,
yeah,
not being working from home now is like the most popular thing in the world.
Yeah, and like wearing masks, facial expressions are very important.
Yeah.
Smiling at someone, but
you learn all this stuff in those face-to-face jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my best piece of advice. And the other thing, I always tell people, like, I am an idiot at heart. I'm a stupid man that has really not too much of a skill when it comes to like what I was born with. I'm kind of athletic by nature, kind of. But I was very introverted, always, super shy. Like, this is not by nature who I am. And I always want to say that to these people that are like, man, this guy knows how to talk. Like, this guy can really freaking sell. Because I want to show people, like, yeah, but I know most kids go through life nervous to go talk to a girl, or nervous to go to an interview, or nervous to have a meeting with somebody. They're just nervous in general. They walk around with AirPods in their ears and their head in their phone, and they don't interact with people, not because they don't like interacting with people, but because they're nervous and they don't know how. And the world has told them that, oh, that's just because you're born an introvert. And so now you're cursed with this life where you're not going to get to experience human interaction the same way that an extrovert would. And you go ask 95% of the people are going to tell you they're introverted.
Yeah.
And you also ask 95% of the people that are seemingly extroverted, they'll tell you they're introverted too.
I think that's so important. If no one ever said to you, you're introverted, you would never think that.
Yeah.
You
what
wouldn't
if it was
be introverted.
A skill? What if it was a skill instead of like a trait?
Yeah.
And we looked at it the same way that we looked at, being strong. Oh, sorry, you were born weak. No, I was born, and I'm weak because I haven't lifted weights ever.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you were born an introvert. No, I was born and I introverted because I never talked to anybody. So you go talk to people, and it's a skill the same way that anything else is.
Yeah. I think that's one of the very few things nowadays that is pushed by like the media, where it kind of, you're diagnosing yourself with something that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you could call it a diagnosis or whatever. I'll give another example. Depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
I truly believe that like there would be almost no one who would classify themselves as depressed or anxious if it wasn't for the media and social media, right? Absolutely, there's that feeling of being depressed and anxious, but you are not, as a person, depressed or anxious. That feeling does exist, but that's not who you are as a person. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like the media has told everyone you are depressed. You are anxious.
Something you can't control.
That doesn't exist, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We could go back and forth on this all day, but that's how I feel.
The anxiety is, probably maybe for another podcast, but the anxiety is a funny one because I've always kind of been that same way. And something over the past 2 years has kind of a little bit changed my mind to it. But at the end of the day, it is still something that you can control somewhat, even if it's the same thing. I just am not one of these guys that likes to. There's no good that ever comes from pointing the blame at something that you can't control. And so even if I walk out of here today and I get in a car wreck that's not my fault and I total my truck.
God forbid, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, right. But I use this example a lot because things happen, right?
Absolutely.
Good and bad, things happen out of our control. Regardless of whether it was my fault or not, there's two ways that I can look at the situation. I can either look at it as I'm a victim, or I can look at it as I'm going to take charge and take control to make the best out of this. And only one of those ways of thinking is going to provide me with a positive outcome. It's not acting like a victim.
Yeah.
And so the same thing with anxiety. I do think some people, and I believe this because I do have it now over the past 2 years. It's not something that I've always had, but like anxiety. It's something that is completely out of my control. Happens. Panic attacks frequently. Things that I can't control. When they happen, if I just go, well, this is me, and I can't control this, and this is how I am, it's going to affect my life.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to go have these conversations. I'm not going to be able to run my business the right way. But I go, no, this is happening, out of my control. What am I going to be able to do to maybe make this the best situation possible as this is happening? And so I think similar page, but whereas when I was 17, I would have been exactly you on that stance. today as 26, I have shifted my thinking slightly.
Really?
Here's what I do think, though. I think if what most people have is that most people call anxiety, like if what I'm struggling with is anxiety, most people don't have anxiety. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's overclassified.
Right.
Because if what I'm struggling with, sometimes I can't drive. And so if that's anxiety, most people don't have anxiety.
Right.
Because most people can still function as a human being. When I have these panic attacks, it's like I can't move my body. Like it's a physical
I'm not
thing.
saying it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It absolutely does exist. But I think would you say I have anxiety? Would you? I don't think that's a good thing to say about yourself.
No.
I think it's
don't call
you
it
can
that.
say there are times where I feel anxious.
Yeah.
That's like a entirely different mindset, and it makes such a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. And like I said, I think it's overclassified. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, man.
But last thing that I want to say is something that I think is not pushed enough. As men, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak on it. But I think getting in the gym and pushing yourself mentally makes a big difference when it comes to this type of stuff.
Physically, you mean? Pushing yourself physically?
Pushing yourself mentally.
In the gym.
In the gym helps with depression and anxiety.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah.
It's great. The physical aspect, looking great, getting stronger, that is great that it comes along with that.
Yeah.
But to me, the biggest part, I train every single day. For the past 4 months, I've trained every single day. Before that, I had emergency surgery. I had a broken ankle. I couldn't go to the gym for a couple of months before that. But for the past, maybe it's been longer, 4 or 5 months, every single day I train.
Yeah.
Looking strong, it's great. Getting stronger is great. But for me, it's the mental aspect of it. Pushing myself mentally every day helps me so that I can control anxiety and depression.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good for everything. It builds confidence, knowing that you can go in and do hard things. It builds confidence when you know you can look in the mirror and see the result of what you've done. And it also builds confidence knowing there's people in this world that don't do it by choice. Mm-hmm. And you're choosing to put yourself through that hard thing. And you stay humble, and you never look at yourself as better than anybody. But you know you're in a different class of people. Somebody that is a part of this community that you choose every single day to wake up and go do a hard thing. Yeah. And at a certain point, it just becomes life. Mm-hmm. And that's where, I've been working out consistently for like 13 years now.
Wow. It's a long time.
Yeah. I'm 26. I started when I was 13. And so I've been working out now for as long as I had not been working out before.
Yeah. Half of your life you've been working out.
It's like literally a part of my identity.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't imagine having a day where I'm like, I don't do it. It's just like something that I do.
It's part of your life.
It is me, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's become so much, it's provided so much opportunity for me outside of that, which I think, when I encourage people to work out, for me, it's everything. It's I run a business that is centered around fitness. And like, I've never really worked in any other job that wasn't fitness related. And so it is everything to me, but you don't have to, it doesn't have to be everything to you, but I do think it has to be a large part of you.
Right.
No, you don't have to go get a job in the fitness industry and, in order for working out to have this massive effect on your life. But it does need to be like a big thing that you do. It can't be like a 4-day-a-week thing.
Yeah.
Like a 2-day-a-week thing. You can't work out and eat like trash. You kind of have to do this whole thing together for it to really take the effect that it takes, where you're like in this new community of people that think and act differently, where you don't put bad things in your body, you exercise a program consistently, and you exercise with intention, and you follow this thing as a way of progressively getting better over time. You're drinking water constantly. It's like usually you meet people that are like CEOs or business owners. It's like very rarely do they not do those things.
Yeah.
And then also like with those things usually comes these people also, instead of listening to music in the car, a lot of times they listen to like personal development podcasts or they'll listen to books, like audiobooks. Usually these people also do cold plunges.
Yeah.
And usually these,
Are you a cold plunge guy?
I
hate to interrupt you, but
no, you're good. I have one at the gym that I work out at up in Gardens, but I never do it.
so I have my own cold plunge.
If I had one, I would.
DIY'd it.
I did.
It cost me like $400 or like $500.
Okay.
It's awesome.
That's good.
So you take you go to Home Depot, you get like one of those big freezers.
Yeah.
And you like seal it with silicone.
Yeah.
And you buy this thermometer that's like $40 on Amazon, and it regulates the temperature. So what it does is it turns the freezer on. You set a temperature. Once the water gets to that point, it turns the freezer off.
And
So the
you do
water
it,
never
like,
freezes.
How long does it take
for it to get cold?
Yeah. Do you, because you can't leave it on all the time. It'd be expensive.
Well, that's the point of the thermometer. Once the water gets to that point, that temperature that you set it at, the freezer turns off.
But wouldn't it be smarter to like use it and then turn it off and then like turn it back on like an hour before you use it the next day?
No,
Or
it doesn't.
Takes too long.
No, from the time you fill up the water with the hose, it takes like a day and a half until it gets to 45 degrees.
Okay.
And then every time you go in it goes back up to like 50, and then it'll take like another 2 hours to go back down.
Oh,
but if
wow.
you didn't have a thermometer, the water would just freeze because it's a freezer. But once it does get to that 45 degree temperature, whatever you set it at, since it is a freezer and it is insulated, it stays at that temperature for a while.
Yeah.
So the freezer's not on all the time.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that. It's one of those things that, I will do whenever I'm just not in a living situation to do it right now. I could drive 45 minutes every day to my gym to do it, but the problem is you're not supposed to do it after your workout. And I guess I could, do it as like go there early.
Yeah.
Do it before my workout. But I don't know. I like to sweat like right as I'm walking in the gym, be sweating.
Yeah. Are you a sauna guy?
No, I don't really.
Really?
I don't really do either of this. I just don't. I mean, I have time. I could find time. I'm not going to make that as an excuse, but just not a priority that I've done right now.
I mean, dude, you're looking great. So obviously you don't need it.
Yeah, I'm sure it could help. Always helps. But this has been fun, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Plug all of your stuff. Everything.
Yeah. My website is www.liftid, spelled like this, LIFTID, apparel.com. Instagram is kind of the main place. So at LIFTID_apparel, lifted. If you just type in LIFTID, lifted, that way, it'll probably pop up as the top one. TikTok's the same. YouTube is just lifted, LIFTID. Really, if you just type in lifted pretty much anywhere, you will see something else that comes up. There was something on Shark Tank.
Yeah, it was like some neurological thing.
Neurostimulator.
When I was looking you up, I kept seeing that.
Yeah, so that's the only other thing you'll probably see. But if you type in lifted apparel, then it's us. Definitely pops up.
Yeah,
so.
And all of that will be tagged on my stuff. So assuming you're watching this, you know how to find me. But yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been great. What was that, like an hour and a half? So it's going to be a banger episode. I already know it. Make sure you check out the Instagram Reels, the YouTube Shorts. Those always go crazy. But this is one of those ones where you want to watch the full episode. You're not gonna understand what it was through those clips. You need to watch the full episode on this one. But yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I had a blast,
it's awesome.
Dude.
But
and you're doing good work, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Hopefully, I'll come on again.
Absolutely. Next time when you're on, you're going to be at like 5 mil sales. We'll say it that. That's like, dude, wow. that's a couple months for you.
That'd be crazy.
That's a couple months for you.
That would be crazy.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time. Peace. Let's go, man. That was awesome.